Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Corporate Service Committee to order. Grimsby is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Adirondack, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the First Credit. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and Grimsby stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests? Seeing none. Can I get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? I have to look to my right. Mayor Jordan. Councillor Vardy. Resolved that the October 7, 2024 Corporate Services Committee agenda be approved. All in favor? Carried. I need a mover and a seconder to receive the previous minutes. Councillor Vardy. Mayor Jordan. Makes it easy for me. Resolved that the following minutes be received. Corporate Services Committee of June 3rd, 2024. Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee, June 19th, 2024, and September 18th, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Okay, there are no delegations. There are no consent reports. We do have some discussion reports. Can I have a mover and seconder to get the Town of Grimsby branding project report on the floor for discussion? Councillor Vardy. Mayor Jordan. So nice to have you here. Okay. Christina, sorry. You're up.
Hello, thank you. Through you, Chair. Do we have the presentation? Okay, ready? Yeah. Awesome. It's all good. Through you, Chair. So just for sake of time, we can skip to the next slide, and I'll just get right to the ask and the objectives as outlined in the report. I am here today to recommend that Council endorse the branding project as a 2025 operating project subject to the 2025 budget approval. The communications team would like to engage in a process to hire an external agency to assist with the branding project for the Town of Grimsby. The objective is to create a new brand for the town, one to not only provide guidance and uniformity to our municipality, but to also develop an identity that accurately reflects the town's unique characteristics. I want to highlight, and you'll hear me say this throughout today's presentation, that the timing of this project is ideal, as it does provide a tremendous amount of financial savings in the future. Integrating new branding into our current facilities can avoid the cost of replacing signs at a later time. So just to provide some background, the Town of Grimsby does not currently have a brand. I think there's some misconceptions with what a brand is. A brand is not a logo, and a logo is not a brand. Currently, the town represents itself with the visual representation of a crest, and we've modified that crest over time to include the term the Town of Grimsby, which we then use as a corporate logo to identify both town staff and council. I will share with you a little bit more about what a brand entails, but I do want to highlight that the town has never officially embarked on a venture of this type before. And by undertaking a branding exercise, the town can grow with a customized identity that is really curated for our own characteristics and attributes, and it will help set a strong reputation and position Grimsby as a dynamic and attractive community. Next slide, please. So for the opportunity...
Sorry, Christina, I just want to acknowledge that Councillor Howe is online. Can you hear us, Councillor? Oh, good, good.
So looking at opportunities, again, the time is now. We have some unprecedented growth in the town and we have a lot of ongoing and upcoming projects. And so strategically undertaking this exercise is not only wise, but it is really ideal. Working with a professional agency, we'll be able to complete very detailed and comprehensive research, and I will oversee the project from start to finish with the help of staff, and will ensure all interested parties, including the community, are involved in the process, again, from start to finish. There's many benefits. It can attract to a rebrand, I should say. It attracts investment. It increases tourism. It provides enhanced brand recognition. It improves community pride, and it works well with our existing communication efforts by visually complementing our stories. Over time, the original vision of our community has evolved. Branding provides an opportunity for us to reflect on our updated values, goals, community focus, and any new priorities that have emerged over time, and it really can lead the way for our future. So just to take a couple minutes to talk about what is a brand. A brand is more than just a logo or name. It's the perception and identity of an organization. It really does encompass the emotional and psychological associations that people make with a particular entity. Some key elements of a brand, first off, the obvious is the identity. So there's the visual elements like a logo, color, typography, and design that create a recognizable image. There's values and mission, are the principles and beliefs that the brand stands for, and this helps shape our purpose and our vision. Brands have personality, the human traits and the characteristics that are associated with a brand, like innovative, reliable, or fun. There's also experience. This is formed by how residents interact with our brand, from services and programs to our rich history and heritage. This all helps define how other people feel about it. And then, of course, reputation. So the collective opinion and reputation that the public hold about a brand over time. In essence, a brand becomes a promise of what individuals can expect in terms of quality, consistency, and trustworthiness. It's an intangible asset that can create loyalty and can set us apart. Next slide. Our crest. So lots to talk about with the crest, but the crest, as you're all aware, is a component of a coat of arms. It's a symbol representing a family, organization, institution. It can often denote heritage, identity, or even status. They are visual. They're a visual emblem. And although many municipalities have adopted crests, they are not a logo nor a brand. A brand encompasses a broader identity, which I've touched on that last slide. The town's current crest may no longer effectively communicate our unique identity and value proposition. I solicited some feedback from staff, and I just wanted to highlight that some believe that there's still a lack of clarity as to what residents feel is the meaning and interpretation of our crest. Many are not sure of its connotation. Many do not know what the Latin word means. And there has also been conversations as to whether the peach is still representative of Grimsby, all to be determined. In terms of the graphic design elements of the crest itself, the crest is very challenging for designers. And again, soliciting feedback from staff, our crest is intricate. It's very difficult to replicate. It can be challenging to work with in terms of accuracy and compliance. It's very costly when it comes to printing, as there's many colors within the crest. So I just want to be very clear. The purpose of this branding exercise is not to abolish the crest. I believe there is opportunities to utilize this crest in various ways, and perhaps it's something that council, for example, would like to continue to leverage in the future. My recommendation is that we would lean on the branding agency to provide us with the guidance and the best practices to move forward. Looking at the other Niagara municipalities, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight that both Welland and the region of Niagara have recently completed branding projects. Niagara Falls is currently in the process as we speak. I've been in touch with a few of my fellow communication colleagues, and everyone has been tremendously helpful. They're more than willing to share information, and I do believe that there's great opportunity to leverage some of their key learnings and ensure that we're following a very detailed process from start to finish. I think that the process is very key. And I also want to point out that after some quick research, I believe we are the only municipality outside of West Lincoln that does not have a brand. So just taking a couple of moments here to talk about the program overview. So should we move forward with the branding project, I want to highlight some of the elements. We would develop a comprehensive brand strategy that outlines the town's vision, mission, and values. We would conduct research to understand the perceptions and expectations of everyone. This would include soliciting feedback from residents, businesses, town council, town staff, and even visitors. We would create a new brand identity. This would include a logo, a tagline, missions, values, and of course the visual guidelines. We would work to develop clear and consistent messaging that reflects the town's new brand identity. And finally, we would roll this out across all communication channels and materials. And it would be my intention to ensure that the public is part of this journey. So as we move from phase to phase, they would be part of as the story unfolds. Touching on the deliverables, so in the event that the branding project follows through, we would have a defined logo with very clear specifications on use. It would include a tagline, missions, values, customized letterhead. We would have new templates for PowerPoint and Word, among others. We'd have new signatures, new business cards. We would even have virtual backgrounds for meetings. Speaking about timing, again, I feel that this is very important to touch on as there are several projects that are currently in progress that will benefit from having a new brand in place. I think the Peach King Center is a prime example of this. The re-signing is slated for 2025, so time is of the essence. And there's also new park signs that are in progress. I've spoken with Sarah Sweeney, and this can be paused until the brand work is completed. We also recommend undergoing a wayfinding project, in 2026. It's important to note that there are several signs that have already been built around town with an awareness that our brand could actually change, and therefore it can be changed very easily. One prime example is the sign outside of Town Hall. Again, that circle part can actually be removed and can be changed. A branding exercise that coincides with several town projects is ideal for several reasons. It provides a fresh identity timed with our expansion and growth. It can symbolize growth and modernization and a broader vision, and it can attract attention and provide a cohesive feel. I believe the project would take approximately 6 to 9 months to complete, and there would be approximately 4 phases to the project. The first would involve an RFP and the hiring of a consultant. The second would be the brand strategy development itself, which would include the detailed public engagement. The third is the brand identity creation, and the fourth is the brand implementation. We would allow sufficient time for public input. Touching briefly on budget, I just wanted to highlight that in 2023, Council approved $25,000 as part of the economic development budget, with the intention of moving forward with the branding exercise. This money was actually moved to corporate communications in 2024 with the intention of having communications take over the project. As such, communication has requested an additional $40,000 as part of the 2025 budget to undertake this initiative. I think I touched on it in an earlier slide, but there will be operational costs associated with this project, but some best practices from other municipalities. It's something that we would work to roll out over time. It wouldn't need to be done all at once. So to recap, and just to summarize the presentation here, the proposed new brand will become the framework of Grimsby moving forward. And this new brand will visually showcase and encompass the essence of the town. Our new brand and its associated assets would work together as a unified whole to share a distinct and compelling story about Grimsby and inspire audiences to look beyond what meets the eye. The new brand will provide a uniform blueprint for how the town of Grimsby will position itself in the local, provincial, and national market. And the project overall would include a brand's standard guide, a logo use policy, and define parameters on how the brand can be and should be. A revitalized brand has many benefits, and I think I've done my best to outline them to you today. To summarize, though, the branding will provide the town with a true brand, one that is well thought out, that is designed and curated for our unique and exclusive attributes. It will help differentiate us. It will forge strong emotional connections with our community. It will bring a refresh to our town as we continue to grow and prosper, and it will showcase our community's distinct assets and unique attributes. I just want to, again, finish off and reiterate by stressing the timing of the project. We're in an ideal position with development and growth in Grimsby to launch and implement a new brand. Integrating a new brand in our current and future projects can provide the town with financial savings long-term. Considering the timing of these projects, it's not only a strategic one, but I believe a necessary one. And in short, branding before any more significant change to the town will align perfectly with the timing of our expanding community. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. That was a very good presentation. Very detailed. Thank you very much. And I read your report. It's fantastic. And I know this is long overdue. We've made several attempts over a number of terms now, I guess, to go down this road, and it never went anywhere. So glad you're on board to take us down that road. I'm going to open the floor for any questions or comments. Mayor Jordan.
Thank you through the chair to Christina. I just really like your presentation, and the timing is perfect for it, and it is certainly something that has been discussed about for a long time. My previous iteration as an alderman on council, there's something was brought forward with that when I was on Region Agri-Tourist Council, and it was something that really the council of the day, for whatever reason, didn't really think they wanted to change. And I think we can maybe reflect that there was a lot of non-changing, maybe through the whole municipality. So I'm really happy to see this and look forward to seeing what happens. Thanks.
I don't see anyone else, so I will make a few comments, if that's okay. Did you want to speak? Sorry. Did you want to speak? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this is long overdue, as I said earlier. Being chair of GDAC, for example, when I speak to a lot of the business people out there, they always ask, what is Grimsby? And I think we've been wrestling with trying to find our identity now for a while, because I want to say this without upsetting anyone, I don't think we're the peach capital of the world anymore. We've moved on from that. I think we're a lot of other things now. So I think this is an opportune time, and you coming on board is really quite good timing as well, and that we need to find out who we really are so we can tell the world who we are and know for ourselves, because, for staff, for residents, for council, and everyone. I think we just need to have that, be able to put our arms around something and say, this is us. And I think this branding project, I think, is going to get us there. So thank you very much. It was great. I read it. I know it's not the most, exciting thing to read, but it was, you touched all the bases that I would have asked about. And thank you so much for the presentation. We look forward to seeing all the work you're going to do. Thank you so much. Okay. Resolve that report CAO 24-06, Town of Grimsby Branding Project, dated October 7, 2024, be received, and that the Corporate Services Committee recommend council endorse the branding project as a 2025 operating project subject to 2025 budget approval. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Can I have a mover and a seconder to get the short-term rental report on the floor for discussion? Mayor Jordan and Councillor Howe. Okay, Henry, sorry. Move it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, for sure. So through you, the chair. So the report you have in front of you today, Report BYL 2406, is a follow-up to our previous report. So just to go over some background of how we landed at this stage. So on December 4th of 2023, Town of Grimsby Council passed Resolution C-23-338. So without going through the entirety of that motion, basically what we kind of based our project on was kind of like that last paragraph was a good summary of that, which is up on the screen in front of you today. So it's essentially the potential implementation of a short-term rental tax and/or licensing program, and then the other key point to there is the pilot project fund essentially for tenants. So on March 4th of 2024, Report BYL 24-01, the short-term rental bylaw and licensing program report is attached as Appendix A was brought forward. So this essentially covered common elements of a short-term rental bylaw and licensing program, definitions, a community engagement timeline, and proposed process for the internal project team. Next slide, please. Currently, the Town of Grimsby through the Municipal Law Enforcement Department, we enforce illegal short-term rentals and B&Bs through the zoning bylaw. So that would essentially be a property using a short-term rental as a non-permitted use of that lot. So concerns with the current process and concerns with the investigation under the zoning bylaw is that it is a long and cumbersome process. So essentially, if we don't achieve compliance with an individual or a corporation running a illegal STR, which is a majority of the concerns that are brought forward by the residents, we would have to summons that individual by applying to the provincial court system for Part 3 summons and charge, therefore then bringing them in front of the court and then beginning a court and timeline process. So that kind of brings me into the other concern of the current court backlog. So this is where we have had great success with achieving compliance prior to that, but that is always at the back of our minds as a long and cumbersome process. So when it comes to short-term rentals, a lot of the major concerns surrounding it is noise, parking, or any other public nuisances. So we use other bylaws that we have in the town where we have the ability to either use a Part 1, which is essentially just like kind of like a speeding ticket that you would get out on the road, but it's a Part 1 provincial offense notice and or a kind of like a parking ticket through the administrative monetary penalty system. Next slide, please. Short-term rentals versus bed and breakfast. So I just wanted to kind of go over the difference between a short-term rental and bed and breakfast, just in case that there was individuals that didn't know the difference, and just to kind of hammer home. Short-term rentals is essentially somebody renting out the entirety of their dwelling unit for a period not exceeding 28 consecutive days, while a bed and breakfast has either a property owner and or property manager on site all the time, and they're just renting out by the room of less than 28 days, and there's obviously breakfast supplied, obviously within the title of bed and breakfast. Next slide, please. So local area municipalities. So when we kind of did an environmental scan of the Niagara region, we found that most Niagara region municipalities had a short-term rental bylaw with a licensing program. Grimsby and West Lincoln are currently the municipalities that don't have a bylaw or licensing program in place. So each of these municipalities had their own version of the bylaw to meet their needs of their municipalities. So for example, like Niagara Falls, they only allow them in the tourist zones to kind of ensure that they keep the kind of known concerns that come with short-term rentals out of the residential neighborhoods. So with a potential short-term rental bylaw and licensing program, the licensing program would be an application process for property owners to go through to obviously supply certain items, insurance, for example, parking management plan, to ensure that it doesn't disturb any neighboring residents or businesses. So that's where then it would be received by either clerk staff or municipal law enforcement staff. Each municipality kind of runs it their own way. And then that's where we would then take on that application, kind of do that initial review, and then once it's accepted, a municipal law enforcement officer would attend to the property to ensure the accuracy of those documents and ensure the review of the property itself meets all of our other bylaws, just to ensure the safety of visitors coming to town as well. Next slide, please. So the internal project team. So the internal project team has worked super hard with over the past, 6 months, and so it was led by myself, who coordinated the project team to further investigate the motion. So it was comprised of 9 members over multiple departments. All those multiple departments are in front of you today. So bylaw, ITSI, planning, building, fire, legislative services, and finance. So this was a key component of those staff's work plan for the year 2024, and they worked super hard over those last 6 months. So we met multiple times to brainstorm research, share, and assess all options and possibilities to implement a short-term rental bylaw and licensing program. These are kind of the 4 main options that were explored by those staff members. So in front of you today, we have option 1 is a short-term rental bylaw with a B&B and STR licensing program. Option 2 is a bylaw with a B&B licensing only portion, so STRs would not be licensed under that. Option 3, short-term rental bylaw with no licensing program, and option 4, do not implement a short-term rental nor a licensing program. So when we followed up with our legal, we found that we would have a duty to enforce a STR bylaw if we were to impose one. For example, if we were only licensed B&Bs and STRs were unlicensed, that was actually found as a liability to the town. So we would actually, because they are both short-term accommodations, we would have to either license all or none. So it's either we're either fully into this or we have to take that step back to review our current processes. Next slide, please. So planning context and zoning bylaw will actually be done by Terry, one of our internal project team members, who is the subject matter expert and would do a lot better job than I would at explaining the zoning bylaw.
Henry didn't want to explain zoning, so here we go. Thank you for the opportunity. So really one of the current challenges with STR bylaws is that housing is a big component. So we're always looking for housing, and there's a shortage of housing. So, and that is part of the challenge to meet the needs of existing and future residents as part of that. So it always comes up when people are talking about STR bylaws. So there's a number of questions. Are there specific locations that an STR should be permitted in? Are there numbers of limits? Do you have a number of limits of STRs overall? Some municipalities have taken that option. Henry just also mentioned that Niagara Falls limits STRs to their tourist commercial centers. So it's going down to the next level. If there's a number of bedrooms, Niagara-on-the-Lake has different standards for different numbers of bedrooms as part of what they would permit for different types of an STR component. If there's congregations of them in certain areas, because you don't want certain traffic to be in certain areas, and also length of time occupied. So some might be just a week here or there kind of thing, and some might be a longer term component. So there's a number of factors about STRs that have to be considered. Also the types of units that have to be considered, whether it's allowed in apartment and condo units. We have the process with the Planning Act that has just changed where a second and third unit can be put on a single detached lot or a semi-detached lot. So there's a lot of considerations of how that would work. There's parking components that are required as part of our STRs. Also lot provisions, if there's requirements for lot landscaping, setbacks, and any other considerations to make sure we're looking at the neighbors and how that considers. Official plan and zoning requirements. So when we start to get down to the details of this, we'll definitely have to understand how it impacts the official plan and if there's specific zones where it's permitted and how that works. And also other bylaw requirements. So there's an STR bylaw that would have to be done. The licensing program would have to be created. If there's AMP, thank you. I couldn't remember what AMP stood for, the Administrative Monetary Policy. There you go. For if there's any fines or restrictions if you're not complying with the program. And also some municipalities incorporate an accommodation tax, which we don't have here in the town, but that might be another consideration. So there's a lot of questions around STRs. It's not just yes or no, there's a lot of considerations around them. So and then those would be implemented through the official plan, the zoning, the STR bylaw itself. That would include a lot of things there. You can see a number of components. It includes fire and health and building code, noise and nuisance, and other tools such as there's some municipalities that use a renter's code of conduct or a good neighbors agreement that people would have to sign. So there's a lot of considerations in this. And then there's also materials for the program that would have to go for advertising the program and also registering if from a tourism perspective online, if you want to say that the municipality wants to say, here's the STRs that are legally licensed. There's a number of municipalities that have that program too, so you can really guide people to the legally licensed ones and not the unlicensed ones. So it's not just yes or no, there's a big package to it. So that's sort of the context that we have, and Henry's going to continue.
Thank you, Terry.
Next, we relied on our legal counsel to kind of review the potential of a tenant legal fund. So this was council essentially advised that the municipality would not have the authority to run a tenant legal fund of this nature and use funds from a short-term rental licensing program because the short-term rental licensing program itself needs to be revenue neutral. So essentially, we can only charge as much as it would cost the municipality to review the packages, complete the inspections, basically the application process from beginning to end. So essentially, if we were to use this as a revenue generator, it would actually open us up to liability. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh. Community engagement. So in May, the town began community engagement with question and answer section on the Let's Talk Grimsby page. That further then advanced to, on June 20th, we actually held an open house where we actually did a question and engagement and then a presentation that was led by myself. That presentation has been attached as Appendix B. And then on August 6th of 2024, we launched our survey on Let's Talk Grimsby. So we had a total of 60 people take that survey, and then the full results of the survey and all the questions that were involved within that are attached as Appendix C. So with that, with reviewing kind of the responses from the community, the two questions that are up on the board are question 5 and question 13 that kind of stood out the most. So question 5 is, what sort of experience have you had with known STRs or B&Bs in your neighborhood? So this is where we only had 20% of the respondents actually have a positive experience with a STR or B&B. So this is just kind of something that we want to keep in the back of our mind as a municipality. And then question number 13, where should short-term rentals be permitted? Well, 50% of the people that took it stated that I don't think STRs should be permitted. So again, going off of what Terry had said in previous slides, we currently don't have STRs within our current zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So options explored. So the Corporate Services Standing Committee could undertake any of the options that are in front of you today. So number one is that the report BYL 2406 be received for information. So that is the recommendation to essentially allow our internal staff to align our zoning bylaw with a potential STR and B&B licensing program to ensure that we answer all those questions that Terry had brought up about bedrooms, what properties they should be permitted on, and so on and so forth. And then option number two is that the committee requests council direct staff to complete a short-term accommodation study. So the approximate cost of the study is about $100,000, be included as a part of the 2025 budget. So again, with the recommendation put forward, it doesn't put a strain on the 2025 budget and allows our staff time to align our zoning bylaw along with a potential STR and B&B licensing program to ensure that we do it right and follow the processes and take the time. So at this time, I don't have anything further for you. If anybody has any questions, I will gladly answer them.
Thank you, Henry. That's quite a quite a detailed report, and I think you've covered every base that could possibly be covered. I think we have Councillor Vardy.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I guess what I'm wondering, I mean, this is really, first of all, you've done a lot of good work, so thank you very much. But I'm wondering, is this sort of an overkill for the scope and size of whatever problem we might have? Like, is it a problem? Is it a big problem? Is it a medium problem? And will our current tools that we have for noise or whatever, that maybe that we could adjust some of those fees upward to handle whatever size of this problem is? Because I'm wondering if we're creating a whole administrative structure for something that it's really, maybe there's 3 or 4 problem landlords. And so that's my question.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Vardy. So we do approximately about 10 to 20 investigations of illegal short-term rentals currently per year. That is depending on if it's on a complaint basis, and that is how we currently operate under the zoning bylaw. With that, we can engage further review of those other methods to ensure that we hold those individuals accountable, for example, like noise and parking, to ensure that we don't affect other neighboring lands with the concerns brought forward with an STR or B&B.
If I could have a supplementary question, I think I'm allowed 2.
Go ahead, Councillor Vardy.
I think what I'd like to know also, I've heard about some activity that could either be drugs, which is illegal, and maybe some other activities which may be undesirable for the neighborhood. You know, to be frank, shooting porn films in some of the, that's what I've heard. So are these the kinds of calls you've been receiving of those 10 to 20 that you do?
Through the chair, so specifically, our complaints are always about an illegal operation of an STR, not about actually what occurs inside the residence. I can be honest that we've never received anything of that nature, but we would want to ensure that we use the zoning bylaw effectively there, and then tackle it under that zoning bylaw to be for the property being used as a short-term rental and not as a single detached home as it is meant to be used for.
I suppose we could charge it as a legal business.
We also currently have a great relationship with our 8th district here. And so having that relationship with the staff sergeant and the local officers makes that an easier method to ensure we achieve compliance with community standards and criminal and provincial law.
Mayor Jordan, your turn.
Thank you, through the chair. Henry, great report. And staff, I just want to commend you for all the cogs that you put this together. A lot of work, and I think moving forward, I don't think we're ready to spend that $100,000, given the fact that we're getting to budget and there's a lot of budgetary pressures. Also given the fact that you have the tools right now to work with the people that are causing problems, and I certainly haven't heard anything over the last little bit. It was maybe more in the summer or in spring, but it seems to have, I guess what bylaw is doing is working, so, because no news is good news when you're not getting phone calls. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. There's no question there, was there?
No.
Okay. Councillor Howe, it's your turn. We can't hear you. Councillor Howe, we can't hear you. Have you got your mute button on or something? Did you say move on?
Excuse me.
Okay. Henry, thank you very much for that report. It was absolutely very detailed, and I guess it's more complicated than we thought. It's more than writing a resolution and flicking a switch. It's much more than that. I do have just one question. You noted that it would, to do the full study would be somewhere around 100 grand. But once you put something like this in place, I mean, did you look at what the cost would be to run this type of program if we put it in place fully? I mean, like, you got staff, you've got resources of all kinds. I mean, did you have a chance to look at that part of it?
Through the chair, so the fees collected from the licensing program would actually neutralize those costs. So I know that there's a lot of other hidden costs that some other municipalities would have, but that would be a step that we would take after our zoning bylaw is aligned with the intent and purpose of short-term rental and bylaw licensing, and then we would essentially bring forward a report outlining what those costs may be to the municipality, but we felt it was premature to put it into this report if it wasn't relevant, and ensuring that we use staff time to research the baseline of this program before the actual costs of the program.
So we really don't have a handle on what the ongoing costs will be if we put this program in place. We don't know whether fees we collect would cover. We don't know that yet. That's, I guess we'll.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's all. I must admit, in my time on council, my second term now, I have not had one single complaint from anyone in town or in my ward, and I think Councillor Vardy said exactly the same thing, and the mayor as well. So maybe this is a tempest in the teapot at this point in time. So anyway, thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Okay.
Do we vote on the recommendation?
There. Okay, resolve that report VYL 24-06, short-term rentals dated October 7th, be received for information. All in favor? Carried. We're just going to go with this, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to get the committee vacancies report on the floor for discussion. Councillor Howe. Mayor Jordan. Okay, maybe this works. Okay, before staff introduces the report, I'd like to note that the committee wishes to discuss the individuals listed in the appendix of the report. We will have to move into closed session for that. Only general discussion on this report is permitted in open session. So I'll turn it over to Katie. Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So this report is before the committee as there have been vacancies identified on some of the town's committees. So with the Culture Advisory Committee now disbanded, 3 members of that committee have expressed their interest in joining the Art Gallery Special Purpose Advisory Committee. So this Art Gallery Committee's terms of reference does allow for a maximum of 8 members. So the 3 interested culture members would create a full membership on the Art Gallery Committee. In addition to that, the Community Services Standing Committee has had a member resign as well, with a culture member interested in filling this position. And lastly, the Age Friendly Advisory Committee has had a member resign, and the committee has also expressed interest in filling that position as well as advertising for more. Their terms of reference allows for a maximum of 9 members, so the town would be advertising for 4 vacancies. So all recommended appointments are in Appendix A of the report, and staff are seeking direction to advertise the vacancies for the Age Friendly Committee. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll open the floor for any comments, questions. Mayor Jordan?
Thank you, through you. Maybe it's more of a comment. Just being on the age-friendly committee, I feel that, yeah, we're a small committee that's trying to do lots of things, and we could always use more members, so I'd happily advertise for more, so that's all I have, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I already have a mover and a seconder. Sorry, Councilor Vardy, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, just say that I would concur with the Art Gallery Special Purpose. I think that would be a good move. Thank you.
See no more comments? Resolve that report TC 24-13, committee vacancies dated October 7, 2024 be received, and that the Corporate Services Committee recommends council direct staff to advertise and fill the vacancies of the Age Friendly Advisory Committee, and 2, that the Corporate Services Committee recommends council appoint individuals to their respective committees in accordance with Appendix A. All in favor? Carried. We're going to move on to correspondence. Can I have a mover and seconder to receive the memo on extending the legal services contract? Mayor Jordan. Councillor Howe. Resolve that the extension of legal services contract memo be received. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We're clipping along here. Well, I think we had... Can move on to other business under item 10, and I believe that Philip has an update on one of our telecommunications projects. Is that correct? Go ahead, Philip.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, I just wanted to inform committee that last week the town received notice that the province has renegotiated its cellular services contract with Rogers Communications with better rates. The new rates on monthly service drop. This will save the town money. The town did renew its cellular services contract with Rogers under these new rates. So it's a 3-year agreement, and we're good to go for another 3 years. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Looks like you're off the hook. Thank you for the report. Appreciate it. Okay. You read that? You need that? You need anything?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Okay, I guess we're done. Next meeting will be held, will be at the call of the chair. That's me. So we haven't decided on a date yet, so we'll get back to you on that. So meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. for your attendance and your participation. Thank you very much. Have a good day.